Hey groupers, Pastor Marshall. I hope that you are ready to dig in to Hebrews 4. Not a lot of passage to cover today, but certainly a lot to talk about. Well, I started off, and I want you to start off, just to get everyone talking, about who do you think was the greatest? Who was the GOAT? Make a list. You got a whole bunch of sports that you can pick from: football, baseball, basketball, soccer, swimming. Just name some sports, and who do you think was the greatest? Maybe you'll have some discussion there. What was the greatest band ever? Who was the greatest singer ever? What was the greatest song ever? Who's the greatest race car driver? What's the best car that there's ever been? Who was the greatest author? Just spend some time talking about some GOATs. Who was the greatest of all time? And then, second, before you read Hebrews 4, I want you to just push back a little bit about the idea that the Bible is the greatest book that's ever been written. If someone were to argue with you, if they were to say, no, the Bible is not the greatest book that's ever been written, what would they say to try to prove their point? Okay. Now, is the Word of God a who or a what? Talk about that for a second. Then, what are the major parts of the Bible? There's two of them. What are the major parts of the Bible? Who wrote the first part? When was it written? What language was it written in? Who wrote the second part? When was it written? What language was it written in? If you took these two parts and you tried to divide them into 4 parts each, 4 parts for the first part, 4 parts for the second part, and those 4 parts were the same, is it possible to divide the first part of the Bible and the second part of the Bible into 4 sections each, and those 4 sections be the same? Talk about that. The Bible was divided into chapters in 1227 by a guy by the name of, make sure I get this right, guy by the name of Langton. 1227, Langton. And then the Bible was divided into, this is chapters. The Bible was divided into verses in 1555, and the name of the guy divided into chapters was Stephanus, something like that. Langton Stephanus, 1227, 1555. I wonder if you think that there would be a better way for us to divide up our Bible. Just chapters and verses, is that really the best way? It has been that way since 1555. Is there a better way that you could think of? Well, there are 2 major verses in the New Testament that talk about our Bible being inspired of God. One verse is 2 Timothy 3:16. I think you should look that verse up. And then the other verse is 2 Peter 1:21. I think that you should look that verse up. And then taking these 2 verses together, what do they teach us about what Bible inspiration is? How did our Bibles come about? When we say that our Bible is inspired without errors, does that mean that we believe that everything that the Bible contains is true? When we say that our Bible is without errors, does that mean that we believe that everything that our Bible says is true? If there are things that our Bible says that aren't true, what would be some examples of that? What would be some examples of things that aren't true? So when we talk about our Bible being inerrant or without errors, does it mean that everything in the Bible is true? Well, verse 12 says that the Bible is living. What does it mean that it is living? It also says that it is active. What does it mean that it is active? And then verse 13 says that nothing is hidden from God. Do you believe that this is true? And if you believe that this is true, that nothing is hidden from God, what are the ramifications for that when it comes to our sinful thought lives and when it comes to our sinful lives? If nothing is hidden from God, what are the ramifications for our thoughts and our actions? if nothing is hidden from God, what are the ramifications for prayer? What does it mean in our prayer lives if nothing is hidden from God? Well, I hope that you have an amazing study about the Bible, and I hope that you're ready, if you haven't started already, to join me in reading the Gospel of Luke. You need the YouVersion app. Again, if you'll email us, we'll send you a link that will take you right to my group, and we're reading through the Gospel of Luke in 21 days. So depending on when you're watching this, you're either starting tomorrow or you're getting ahead. I mean, trying to catch up because we're ahead. Well, I hope that you will join me in reading the Gospel of Luke and having some discussion with me, asking me questions as we go through this great book. Well, I hope that you have a great small group, and I'll see you next weekend. God bless.